In this lecture, we are going to create a new background layer. It's going to be in front of the trees. We're also going to update the material we created in the last lecture so that it can also make the background shift vertically. Alright, our new background is going to be a flipbook with animation. Let's go to the content browser, go to the background folder under the asset folder. We are going to extract some sprites from this file that starts with 01. So let's make a folder called close BP. Right-click on the file. Select Sprite Actions, then extract sprites. Change the method to grade. Alright, let me zoom out. We have 4 frames here, so let's divide the width by 4. Let's move the new sprites into the new folder. Go into the folder, select all sprites, right-click, create flipbook. Let's rename it to close BG. Alright, let's open the new flipbook. Now the animation is too fast. Because this is just a background, we don't want the animation to stand out. So let's make it only 6 frames per second. Alright, now we can close this flipbook. Let's go back to the BG background to add a new layer. Hit the Add button and search for flipbook. I think because the flipbook we want is already selected in the content browser, the engine got it and created a new flipbook component with the flipbook file and the file's name. This is very handy, but if you don't have that happen for you, you can just select the file from here as we always did. Let's move it forward. I think the best value for the Y location is 130, even though I'm using 150 here. You don't want it to be more than 150. Otherwise, it's going to come out and block the platform. Now, we need a new material instance for this flipbook. Let's right-click on the second instance, then select Create Material Instance. By the way, you can also just duplicate it. Let's just change the postfix to inst_closebg. Then we can drag it and assign it to the flipbook. Let's open this instance to update the speedx parameter. Let's set it to 0.8 and test the game. The new background layer looks pretty good. But there is one more thing I want to happen here. Because this new background is pretty close up, I want it to shift down vertically when the player goes up. Before we update the material to make it possible, let's go back to the level and update the tail map, because we want the player to be able to go up, so we can test the vertical parallax effect. Let me move the BP background backward, so we can see the platform better. Anyways, its position doesn't matter, because we always set the position of the background in the blueprint. Alright, now let's open the tail map. Alright, I'm going to select the 3 blocks to create some platforms. Before I paint more of this, I want to make sure the player can jump onto it. Seems like we can't, so let me undo the steps and make the platform lower. Alright, we have no problem jumping onto it. I think the ideal height is 3 blocks. Let's enable the grid. It helps us locate the platforms better. I'll just keep adding more of these until our player can go to a really high place. Alright, I think this is high enough. Let's keep going up. You can see the close background doesn't go down. This looks unnatural. So let's make the close background go the opposite direction vertically as the player moves. Let's go back to the Parallax BG material. To make the sprite shift vertically, we just need to get the Y movement of the camera involved. Let's delete this 0 input. Copy and paste these 2 nodes. Connect this one to the B input of the append node. The B channel of the split components node represents the Y location of the camera. Let's connect it to the multiply node. Alright, now the vertical movement of the camera is involved. We just need to add a new parameter to control the speed. Let's press the number key 1 to add a flow node here. Right-click, convert to parameter. Let's name it speed_y. Connect it to the A input of this multiply node. Alright, that's it. You might want to double check you have the same nodes and connections. Notice that the default value of speed y has to be 0. This is to make sure it does not affect the background layers that we don't want to move vertically. And we can limit the max value of the slider to 10. Alright, we are finished here, but we have to apply the changes before we test the game. But for now, nothing is going to change because we haven't set the speed y for the closed background. Let's do it now. Go to the closed background material instance. Enable speed y. Let's set it to 4 and test. Alright, it's working, but it's moving in the same direction as the player. We want the direction to be opposite, so let's make it -4 this time. Looks good, but I think the vertical movement could be faster. Let's make it to -6. I think now the movement is perfect. Now you can see something is happening at the top. The sprite is repeating itself. This is why I talked about the telling method of the texture in the last lecture. Let's go find the source file of the flipbook. It's this one that starts with 01. Let's open it. You can search for wrap or telling method. Let's change the method for the y-axis to clamp. This way, the sprite is not going to repeat vertically. Alright, let's jump up to see if it works. Great, we see nothing at the top here. One more thing while we're here. I want to check what is going to happen if the player falls. This doesn't look good, but no problem. Because after the player falls into the pit, we are going to make it die right away in a later lecture. And the camera resets so we don't see this part. It's like anything down here is not going to show up in the camera. Alright, we have finished our job here. Before we wrap up, I like to remove these platforms. Let's go to the tile map. Use the eraser to delete these tiles. That's all for this lecture. Let's save all the files and wrap up.